Come and say, come to the teacher. Come and say, come to the teacher. Come and say, come to the teacher. Come to the teacher.
The last time, man, I left off, I was letting y'all know about your girl, Alice Walker, and about her visit to the Soviet Union and her long-time friendship since, going back to when she met him in college at Spelman, a man by the name of Howard Zinn. Now, Howard Zinn may be one of the most influential authors / intellectual scholars of the last 100 years. He wrote a book entitled The People's History of America, or The People's History of the United States. Much of our history curriculum is taught from the perspective of Howard Zinn solely, and what it is he put in that book and his interpretation of American history. Anytime you hear a person say something or start off with the words, the people, that should be cold right there, because they're never talking about the people. Just a quick little brief dig into when it comes to Howard Zinn. I can give a whole breakdown on Howard Zinn, but that's another conversation for another day. But Howard Zinn, he was a member of the American Labor Party on the surface throughout his political life. There were informants inside the ALP, the American Labor Party, who had informed FBI officials that Howard Zinn once disclosed to them in 1948 that he was, in fact, a member of the Communist Party. Now, people say, well, was Howard Zinn a communist or wasn't he? Now, some of y'all are probably thinking to yourselves, what the fuck is communism anyway, and why should I care? And I started off last time, what brought me to the table to speak on this was some things I heard being said by a scholar by the name of Dr. Randy Short during his time at Harvard as a member of the student union. And these student unions cause a whole lot of havoc and mayhem on these college campuses. But it was due in large part to his efforts while he was a student at Howard that he pressured the university to give Kwame Ture an honorary doctorate. Kwame Ture, for those of you who don't know, may be better known as Stokely Carmichael. That's the same individual. And so when we think about Huey P. Newton, when we think about Stokely Carmichael and a lot of these individuals, it's funny because throughout our lives, particularly as black folks, we know the people, we know the players, we know the names, we even know some of their accomplishments. But words like communist was never associated with these men. Words like socialist were never associated with these women. And so the question becomes why? It's very important. Because like I said the last time, there is an agenda at play, and those who we just kind of give the benefit of the doubt, right, for good faith purposes, they have an agenda. And just because you may share the same complexion, you think to yourself, okay, well, we're moving as one, and this person who was at the forefront, like a W.E.B. Du Bois, they are speaking on behalf of us because we all look like this. Well, W.E.B. Du Bois was another individual who went on to actually renounce his American citizenship and openly confessed his membership to the Communist Party in the early 1960s. There was an article written about it in the New York Times, as a matter of fact. I think the year, to be precise, was 1963. So W.E.B. Du Bois was also a communist, was just rife and infested with all sorts of, communist. It was a hotbed of that type of thinking, right? They brought it over from Europe, and then they settled into the United States. Now, remember, it's all about community and communal ownership. We all we got, right? And so you got these immigrants coming over here, and they're afraid. They're looking at the outside world, and they're saying to themselves, "Oh shit, like fuck," And so it kind of keeps them sequestered and locked in with one another, right? Because of this existential threat they feel from the outside world. Well, they new to this country, right? Gotcha. Even David Horowitz talks about his own father and talks about, because like I say, his father and mother were members of the Communist Party, or they were communists. They never called themselves communists publicly. They called themselves progressives, but they were registered Democrats, right? And he learned communism from his parents in the 1930s, 1940s. And he was what they called back then a red diaper baby, because a lot of these motherfuckers was taught communism from their parents. And David Horowitz became a big deal in the 1960s. He was a member of what they called the New Left. We gonna get into that. But David Horowitz today, he's one of the most outspoken, controversial conservative activists in the country, because he abandoned the left. He abandoned communism after what had happened to Betty Van Peeter. And I'm gonna let y'all know what happened to Betty Van Peeter. I thought this was interesting. I want to bring this up. And this is the article that David Horowitz wrote for Salon in 1999. Okay. 25 years ago on Monday, my friend Betty Van Peeter disappeared from a tavern on University Avenue called the Berkeley Square and was never seen alive again. 6 months earlier, I had recruited Betty to keep the books of the Educational Opportunities Corps, an entity that I had created to run a school for the children of the Black Panther Party. By the time the police fished her battered body out of San Francisco Bay in January 1975, I knew that her killers were the Panthers themselves. Now, Betty Van Peeter used to keep the books for the Black Panther Party. David Horowitz, he was becoming disillusioned with the left because of what was discovered after the death of Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin was the head of the Soviet Union for 30 years. Mind you, everyone who's believing in communism thought that the Soviet Union was a destination. It was heaven. They thought it was the destination. And then when they found out that Stalin was keeping motherfuckers in, forced labor camps, re-education camps, they called them gulags, the exterminations, the starvations, the repression. And they was like, oh shit, this is not what the fuck we thought communism was going to be. At the time, the Panthers were still being defended by writers like Murray Kempton and Gary Willis in the pages of the New York Times, and by then Governor Jerry Brown of California. Just don't understand and realize that you think that you fighting against some power, you are the power. You setting yourself up to be involved in some shit that you don't even understand. The Black Panther Party was not, they were allowed to operate and do the things that they were doing because they had allies in the media, allies in the government, and people who sided with what they were doing because they aligned themselves with their cause. The governor, Jerry Brown, writers for the New York Times. The governor was even a confidant of Elaine Brown, who was the leader of the Black Panther Party at the time, who had hired Betty and whom Huey Newton had appointed to stand for him as the Panthers leader when he was exiled in Cuba. I talked about that last time. At the time of Betty's death, Elaine was running for Oakland City Council and had just secured a $250,000 grant from the Nixon administration under a federal juvenile delinquency program. So the Panthers are getting money from the government. Now, this is the Nixon administration. The Republican Richard Nixon, who I'm going to get into some shit because I'm going to read some words from Huey P. Newton and some of the things that he said about the Nixon administration. But the Nixon administration is giving federal grants to the Black Panther Party. I'm telling y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Y'all talking about some, because I know it feel good to feel like you the underdog. It feel good to know that you fighting up against something, right? Because intrinsically, we as human beings, we're all seeking something. And that thing, because we know intrinsically, whether you believe in the teachings of the Bible or not, you know you're a fallen being. So we're all seeking redemption. So it feels good sometimes to feel like you fighting up against something. It feels good to feel like you are the side of good fighting and waging a war against something that's evil. But in order to do that, you in your mind think that you must consistently be on the side that's losing. That's why y'all internalize and y'all fetishize this oppression shit. This is why so many of you black folk can't get out that victim mentality, that victim complex, because it almost seems counterintuitive, but in a way, your victimhood is your power. You telling motherfuckers that I'm a victim and that's what's keeping me down. No, your victim status is what's giving you all this fucking self-esteem that you ain't earned and don't deserve. The only thing you need to be able to say is that, well, I'm a victim. White supremacy. Okay. Running around talking about, whether it's, oh, we gonna get to the LGBT, we gonna get to the pride shit. We ain't got there yet, but we gonna get there. But y'all got black pride too. My black pride will say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. Now y'all niggas don't need no more pride. Y'all need some fucking humility. That's what you need, because being black don't make you special. All right, back to this shit. Joe Anthony Klein, the consigliere to whom she had been able to turn when the party's enforcers got in trouble with the law, was about to be appointed to Governor Brown's cabinet. So here we have a man, J. Anthony Klein. Today, this is 1999. Today, Klein is a justice on the First Circuit Court of Appeals in San Francisco. So today, you wonder why? Look at all this shit going on across America, huh? All this bail reform shit, all this no bail, in the front door, out the back door. These repeat offenders, motherfuckers, these violent criminals and shit, running roughshods, Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York City, Chicago, Baltimore, everywhere. Motherfuckers like J. Anthony Klein, who is a consigliere of Elaine Brown, are the types of folks that are today your DAs, your politicians, your sheriffs, your police chiefs. They were the activists back then. See, if you want to know what, I was on one of my live streams, and this goofy motherfucker gonna jump in the comment section talking shit about what the FBI did to the Black Panther Party, and I said, and I'm gonna look dead in this camera, and I don't give a shit how you feel about it. I said to him, I am glad that the Black Panther Party was destabilized, because if you want to know what the fuck life would be like had the Black Panther Party and their ism, their ideology, had it won in their glory, had the Black Panther Party got their way, you complaining about what's going on in these inner cities today. See, but the residue of what was going on back then is still alive and well in your politics today. And it's primarily on one side of the political divide. In the pursuit of answers to the mystery of Betty's death, I subsequently discovered that the Panthers had killed more than a dozen people in the course of conducting extortion, prostitution, and drug rackets in the Oakland ghetto. Now, y'all probably said this some bullshit, you don't believe it, you don't this and that. While these criminal activities were taking place, the group enjoyed the support of the American left, the Democrat Party, Bay Area trade unions, and even the Oakland business establishment. The head of Clorox sat on the board of the Educational Opportunities Corps. So the head of Clorox was a part of the Panthers Educational Board. Historical figures that happen to be white that support something different, right, from what these motherfuckers is saying are the white folks who we ain't supposed to like. See, them was all the racists and all the this, that, and the third, and them the ones who names and statues and shit need to come down. You see what I'm saying? Patrice Cullors just go on and she said, I was trained in this. Patrice Cullors, she can play all this black-white shit, and then her and the other two co-founders, right, were taught the skill of Marxist agitation by a man by the name of Eric Mann. He is really the brainchild behind Black Lives Matter. A white man who says, I specialize in radicalizing women of color. Those are his words. Those are his words. Yep, Eric Mann. Eric Mann is a civil rights activist, anti-war, labor, and environmental organizer whose career spans more than 50 years. He has worked with the Congress of Racial Equality, Newark Community Union Project, Students for a Democratic Society, the Black Panther Party, the United Automobile Workers, and the New Directions Movement. Whatever the reasons, the fact remains that to this day, not a single organization of the mainstream press has ever investigated the Panthers' murders, even though the story is one that touches the lives and political careers of the entire liberal establishment, including the First Lady, who was Hillary Clinton in '99, including the First Lady and the Deputy Attorney General in charge of civil rights for the Clinton administration. Both Hillary Rodham Clinton, Bill Lane Lee began their political careers as law students at Yale by organizing demonstrations in 1970 to shut down the university and stop the trial of Panther leaders who had tortured and then executed a black youth named Alex Rackley. Now, Betty Van Peeter, the reason it was believed, like I said, because she did the Panthers books, and it's believed that she found out something that she wasn't supposed to find out, and she got killed for it. This is popular belief. and Elaine Brown, in so many words, sort of admitted that she did in fact have Betty Van Peeter killed, this poor little white woman who thought she was doing something for the black man and trying to, for the black folk, right? And she was found in San Francisco Bay, right? Mind you, Elaine Brown back then, she was driving around in German automobiles, Mercedes Benzes, flaunting, flashy. They all had, like I said, they was gangsters. Elaine Brown was saying, once again, who was the leader of the Black Panther Party, that was her, lived a very high-profile lifestyle. Flaunting money, fat, nice cars, clothes, all that good shit. I'm going to just skip this. This is a letter that was written to David Horowitz, the man who wrote this article, from a fellow member. These two men grew up together. This man's name is Art Goldberg. I'm just going to just kind of go into I want to just say quickly, because Art Goldberg, in the letter to David Horowitz, and like I say, Art and David grew up together. Art was also a red diaper baby. He says, in my mind, you are the person responsible for her death. Art Goldberg says, sending her in to audit the Panthers' books at that particular time was tantamount to dressing her in a Ku Klux Klan white sheet and sending her up to 125th Street in Harlem or to West Oakland. So he's chiding David Horowitz because David Horowitz felt guilty because he believed that the Panthers were not everything that people were saying they were. He thought that, nah, bro, he didn't want to believe it. Like, nah, them lies coming from the FBI or the CIA is doing this shit, it's COINTELPRO. He didn't want to believe it until his friend got murdered by the Panthers. Then he said, oh shit, some of that shit is real. And then his own buddy, Art Goldberg, in a letter to David Horowitz said, nigga, I told you not to send her in there. I knew they was gonna kill her. So what she find that what did she see that she wasn't supposed to see? I guess we'll never know. Remember Elaine Brown? She says that is the idea that gender concerns are more important than race concerns, and that men are the enemy, not capitalism, right? So remember, Elaine Brown said the enemy is not men, and that, yeah, we have racial problems, but remember, the enemy is capitalism. Damn. So you got all this racial strife and all this shit about sexism and blah, 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 blah. But capitalism, you see, capitalism creates all of this. Capitalism creates this racial strife. Capitalism creates this gender strife and all this shit. Now you say, well, damn, man, fuck, if capitalism, if that's the problem, then what the fuck is the alternative? Well, we've been saying this word communism the whole time, but then there it is. Once again, capitalism is this idea, right? You cannot have a capitalist system without the right to private ownership, because you could do whatever you want to do with your property in order to accrue wealth for yourself, right? You could use your personal property as a means of capital to invest and to create wealth and to generate wealth, and this, that, and third. That's not, no, that's right. That's right. And see, remember, one of the things that communists do also is, for example, if you are able to produce something like my man Rick was saying with your mind, with your intellectual capital, then you cannot charge whatever price the market will bear for your services, because someone is sitting back watching from afar, determining what is the fair going rate for whatever it is that you produce. So long time ago, and this is still one of the most popular reels I got on my Instagram page when I'm talking about healthcare, right? So if you could if I'm a doctor, right, and you know my skills as a doctor, that's a part of my property. Okay. My skills are my property.
Yes.
Say, well, motherfucker, well, you can't charge for your services what you want to charge, because it's not fair that everybody can't pay for your services. Meaning that everybody can't get the same quality of shit, right? And so when you say, well, nigga, I'm gonna lower the price of something to make it more affordable. But you may lower the price of it to make it more affordable, but that doesn't make it more accessible, because you haven't created more of it, right? You've generated, and what you've done essentially is you've created artificial scarcity. So when you try to socialize healthcare, there aren't going to be any doctors. You want to make it affordable for everybody, and nobody's going to make the intellectual investment it takes to become a skilled doctor in the first place.
So what? You say you can't pay me.
Because you can't pay me because the profit motive is the incentive. I'm not doing this shit for my motherfucking health. Because if I could do that, well then shit, I'm gonna leave it up to another motherfucker to go through the painstaking trials and tribulations of getting the knowledge it takes in order to be a good doctor. Cause hell, I ain't finna do that shit because what's in it for me? Then you got everybody walking around with that same mindset. Ain't nobody gonna produce. Comes to the market is what also drives incentives. Because if you long for a pair of motherfucking buffs, if you want some off-white ones, my nigga UNC, if you want them bitches, then guess what? You gonna do whatever it is that you need to do in order to, I mean, I say if you living right, you being righteous and you abiding by the law, you gonna make yourself a person of value so that whatever it is that you do can command a certain amount of, revenue on the market so that you can go out and pay for the things that you want. But what you have essentially done is contributed to the collective by making yourself someone of value. And by making yourself someone of value, you put yourself in a position where you can buy high-priced things. Capitalism is one thing. And yes, capitalism is what makes the society go, what makes the society function. But before we can even talk about the free market system, i.e. capitalism, we have to talk about virtue. Because morality and virtue comes first. Because if you don't have virtue, then you can't even operate on an up and up on the market. Because in order to function on the market, i.e. capitalism, every individual participating has to operate with some modicum, a sense of honor and duty and responsibility. And I'm going to just come out the gate and tell y'all what I'm reading. This is a 1970 speech on August 15th, 1970 by Huey P. Newton, He gave this speech in New York City where he outlined the party's position on the two emerging movements of the time. The women's liberation movement and the gay liberation movement. Oh, shit. So y'all keep in mind now, y'all black folk, because y'all, now y'all saying to y'all, okay, now this is a line. This shit, we going too far now. We going too far, huh?
Hold on, you going too far.
Now you going too far. I'm talking about going inside there and kicking some fucking ass, but not burning people up. Yeah, there's a program that I'm with. So I want to read just a couple excerpts from this speech. This is not endorsing things in homosexuality that we wouldn't view as revolutionary, but there is nothing to say that a homosexual cannot be a revolutionary. And maybe I'm now injecting some of my prejudice by saying that even a homosexual can be revolutionary. Quite the contrary. Notice what he said. Let me read that again because he's checking himself. He says, and maybe I am now injecting my prejudice when I say that, check the tone, that a homosexual can be a revolutionary. Quite the contrary, Huey says. Maybe a homosexual could be the most revolutionary. So, Huey P. Newton say, fuck the black man, fuck the black woman. The gay is the most revolutionary of us all. Why? Why is government education so bad? Because it's a single provider system. Because what keeps the service provider on his toes is the threat of going out of business. He has to outcompete his competitors on the market. So he has to figure out a way how to get his products to the market quicker and better and at a cheaper price. See, when you're talking about government, ain't no alternative. You got to go there and you can't go nowhere else. So they don't give a fuck about you because they ain't got to compete. The government doesn't generate a profit, ladies and gentlemen. But you're going to trust them to do what for you? Give you your health care? Give you electrical vehicles and all type of goofy shit? Okay. That's what the Panthers wanted. That's what they wanted, but they just thought that it could work if they had the right people running the system. People who, I guess, were like them. Or they felt like, hey, I could do it if I ran it myself. Okay. So capitalism is the arbiter of all oppression. In a system not compartmentalized into single units of oppression, it exists as a totality. Class exploitation and all forms of oppression are, as a result, constituted in such a way as to connect the dismantling of the master's front yard to the dismantling of the entire house. So they're talking about dismantling the entire house because capitalism is what has created all of this oppression. And she outlines it. The histories of working class exploitation, sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, colonialism, imperialism, and all forms of institutionalized oppression are integrated, not separate histories. Listen to me, man. Going back to Huey. What would Huey be saying if he were alive today? I'll tell you what he'd be saying. No voting, no fucking. No voting, no touching. No voting, no touching, no vote. Yeah. Trina put the bi in bipartisan. Remember what Alice Walker said, huh? What a womanist is, what a black feminist is. Somebody who loves women both sexually and non-sexually. Trina said she put the bi in bipartisan. My man Saucy Santana say you want to hit this booty, you got to do your civic duty. Then y'all sitting up here talking about some, man, what the hell? Why they doing this to black folks? Why they doing this to black people? Then I'm listening real close and I'm hearing the way y'all talking. Can't y'all see? See, these are your philosopher kings. This is the shit that's trickling down through the school system and through the culture and on the media and in the news, right? So she says the struggles of all this shit is integrated. Homophobia, transphobia, colonialism, imperialism, sexism, racism, they're all integrated. You know the type of person you got to be, the ego you got to have to think. And this is why only someone with such an ego would even have the urge to have that kind of control over a motherfucker. Joseph Stalin, Mao Zedong, Adolf Hitler, all these people, egos. Y'all want to talk about Trump and all this shit. Imagine the type of ego you got to have to think that you as a person and whoever the fuck else you got in your little cadre, y'all gonna fix all this shit. Sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, imperialism, you gonna just somehow reverse course and fix all that shit. That's what you gonna do. Okay. God complex.
Tupac, I'm gonna change the world.
You ain't nobody you can't change the fuck. We're gonna go change the world. Fucker, go do something, motherfucker. Go build something. Nah, but you want to tell everybody else what to think and what to do with they shit. Okay. Black Lives Matter should be sung with the voices of those who yearn to live in a system free from the rot of capitalistic exploitation. Jay, is this what you think of when you think of Black Lives Matter? Is that what you think of ridding the world of the rot of capitalistic exploitation? Is that what you think of when you think of Black Lives Matter? You want to rid the world of capitalism. Okay. Those who assert that trans women or men are men, women, and those who want to see a free Palestine. And Black Lives Matter should align themselves with those who proclaim that trans men and women are really women. And also those who want to see a free Palestine. Some of y'all motherfuckers don't know what Palestine is, can't spell it, don't know shit about what the fuck is going on between Israel and Palestine. The shit been going on since 1940, whatever. Some of y'all don't know jack shit about what's going on over there. But if you believe Black Lives Matter, you have to align yourself with every single solitary revolutionary cause. It doesn't matter what it is, right? Karl Marx made this clear. And also, a man by the name of Herbert Marcuse made this clear. There was one gentleman who was, in fact, the Eric Mann of his day. And his name was Herbert Marcuse. Herbert Marcuse was the mentor of none other than Angela Davis. I told you I had some smoke for your punk ass. And remember, all these Black Panthers, they all went off into politics, right? Various ranks and various areas aligned with the Democrat Party. Who did Angela Davis come out and endorse for president in 2020? Do you remember? Of course you don't. It was Joe Biden. And she said that she was voting for Joe Biden. She endorsed Joe Biden because she said he was weak. She said that if we put Biden in office, we know that we can get our way. Angela Davis endorsed Joe Biden. But y'all don't know nothing about Angela Davis, do y'all? I want to read to y'all, and mind you, this is the same Angela Davis who wrote glowing letters and letters of praise and friendship and adoration for Jim Jones. Y'all know what Jim Jones is, right?
Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Yeah. She was a big friend. She was a huge fan of Jim Jones. The People's Temple, the People's Church, that was Jim Jones's church. Because he believed that the way towards establishing a socialist utopia was to do it through the pulpit. He was going to use the doctrine of liberation theology to bring people over into the social, economic, socio-political doctrine of communism, but he was going to do it through the church. See, Jim Jones was he was one of the first famous pastors in America who had a multiracial congregation. He had a whole bunch of black motherfuckers in his congregation. All you got to just go look up Jim Jones, documentary, something, read about Jim Jones. Matter of fact, they had a real interesting documentary on Jim Jones on Hulu. If you're a Hulu subscriber, it was called, I don't know, if you just search Jim Jones on Hulu, it's probably still there. They had one on him and they had one on David Koresh. But it was a real interesting NBC documentary. It's about an hour or so long on Jim Jones. Was another communist. And he and Angela Davis were close friends with one another. Class exploitation, sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia. Like, imagine the kind of tyrant that you got to that attracts this kind of thinking. Everything in this room, in this building, was made possible because of the free market system that we call capitalism, and billions of people live by this shit, and you think you gonna take us all out of it. You just gonna fix everything. Because that's the problem, Jay. The fact that you can make an individual decision on whether or not, if you got a taste for pizza, whether you going to get Hungry Howie's or Jets. That's the free market. That's what capitalism is. All right. And guess what? Once again, Jets and Hungry Howie's, for example, they got to compete for your dollars. So they enhance your standard of living because they are trying to compete. They constantly compete.
Every week they got a cold ass new piece. Every month they got a cold ass.
That's right. So that gives more choice and more freedom for you.
What was you about to say about Herbert Marcuse?
Herbert Marcuse. All right, I'm gonna get a Herbert Marcuse, and I think we're running out of time, so I'm gonna wrap. In 1968, this is Angela Davis. These are her words speaking about. In 1968, I was one of Herbert Marcuse's graduate students at UC San Diego. And we all benefited both from his deep knowledge of European philosophical traditions and from the fearless way he manifested his solidarity with movements challenging military aggression, academic repression, and pervasive racism. Once again, Herbert Marcuse, German Jew. He's fighting against racism. Fine. Marcuse counseled us always to acknowledge the important differences between these professors, and I said this before in some of my other uploads on YouTube. These professors don't care about educating. These professors were once the ones in the streets with the Black Panther Party. They're trying to educate the current crop of students to go out and carry on the legacy that they began. They don't care about these kids graduating and making something of themselves, because when they fail, they already got the excuse, because the very same professors that failed them are the ones that are telling them that the system is against them. So not only that, but you got professors that aren't even capable or shouldn't even be professors, because now you got to fill the void to try to do something with all these kids who can't keep up with advanced calculus. They can't keep up with college level undergraduate and postgraduate chemistry. So you got to bring in the gender study experts. You got to bring in the queer pottery and all the bullshit, the Chicano studies and African American studies. These are not academic disciplines. These are political parties. And the professors are indoctrinating them to be radicals so that they can take to the streets and do as the professors want them to do, because these people, or should I say these people, are living out the professors are living vicariously through their students. Marcuse did not always agree with particular tactics of radical movements of that era. He was very clear about the extent to which calls for Black liberation, peace, gender justice, and for the restructuring of the restructuring of education represented important emancipatory tendencies of the era, and indeed helped to push theory in progressive directions. At the same time, he never failed to remind us that the most meaningful dimension of philosophy was its utopian element. When truth cannot be realized within the established social order, it always appears to be the latter. It always appears to the latter as mere utopian. So when we criticize motherfuckers like, nigga, you thinking utopian, that shit ain't real. That's just us, according to Angela Davis. That's just, or should I say Marcuse, this is what he said, according to Angela Davis. We haven't realized the truth. So we criticize them as being utopian. As new generations of scholars and activists ponder the role of intellectuals in shaping radical movements of this era, this is 68. I believe that Marcuse's ideas can be as valuable today as they were 50 years ago. an essay on liberation and counter-revolution and revolt, as well as in his 1974 Stanford University lecture on Marxism and feminism, offers us evidence of his own efforts to engage directly with ideas associated with movements of that period. His reference to feminist socialism in the latter essay predicted the important influence of anti-capitalist and anti-racist feminism on many contemporary movements, including prison abolition, campaigns against police violence, and justice for people with disabilities. The explicitly utopian dimension of Marcuse's thought attracted young intellectuals and activists during the historical conjuncture we associate with the uprisings of 1968. So y'all thought, oh, when they shot Martin, you thought, oh man, we just gonna revolt, we just gonna act a fool, huh? Because they done killed our boy. That's it, we couldn't take no more. Because y'all, we tried to do it Malcolm Martin's way, but now so y'all killed him. So now we just don't, we can't take no more. No. I said this shit when I was with my homeboy Dave over at Timbridge. Shout out to Timbridge. What led to the uprising and all the riots and shit in the 1960s was this shit. Black folks wasn't having no motherfucker. We don't give a fuck. All right, nigga, we know it's racism. This is white people. All right, fucking nigga, we still gonna do our motherfucking thing. And once again, in the spirit of Booker T. Washington, nigga, I ain't got to fucking demand your respect. I'm going to command your motherfucking respect because I'm going to show you my worth, nigga, because you can't do this shit without me, because I guarantee you, you can hate me all you want to, but when I produce some shit that you want, according to capitalism, you going to fuck with me, and you ain't going to take what the fuck I got, nigga, unless you give me something of equal value, or should I say something that I value more than what it is that I own, which is why I'm willing to exchange it with you. Capitalism is what protects the citizen. They trying to turn y'all into motherfucking slaves again. And this here, I didn't even, so this here, and Kate Wagan wrote in her book, Red Feminism, right? She says, her book provides evidence, and I can go more into this, but I think we short on time, so I'm gonna wrap up. Her book, Red Feminism, she says, my book provides evidence to support the belief that at least some communists regarded the subversion of the gender system in America as an integral part of the larger fight to overturn capitalism. So, I hear a lot of y'all black men, and they say, this was for y'all, it's for black women too. But the black men, you know, y'all run around. I had the debate in here with this very same studio, right? Gentlemen, we were talking about capitalism and all this shit, and he swear he the most out cold, pro-black, down this motherfucker it is. He'll probably tell you that feminism is some bullshit. But when they got the capitalism, oh no, he ain't want shit to do with that. He had all these criticisms and critiques about capitalism. Okay. But then, I just read to you. See, they don't play this shit in China and in Russia and all these places. You see, they don't play that shit. But see, they export that feminism shit here because they know, like, this is how you undermine a society. To their goal, when they causing all this beef and all this rift between male and females, they trying to overthrow capitalism, which is, right, one of the bedrock things. This is what makes us what we are. This is what gives us our freedom. But a lot of y'all black men, y'all championing the same shit because y'all communists too. Y'all just a different kind of communists. Communists pioneered the political and cultural analysis of women's oppression. They originated women's studies and advocated for public health care, birth control, abortion, and even children's rights. So feminists advocated for children's rights. You know, when we say children's rights, you know what we talking about? I don't even know if I can say this shit because I fuck around. I ain't monetizing yet because I ain't that nigga yet. But when we talk about children's rights, all right, not just abortion, but see, like I say, well, you know, it ain't a child until it's born. But when the feminists talk about advocating for children's rights, see, what that does is that's blending the line, you see, between what it means to be an adult and what it means to be a child. So remember when we talked about MAPS, minor attracted peoples, huh? Yeah, children should have more rights, right? Because when you're talking about Marxism, all lines must be eradicated because man, woman, boy, girl, we're all the same. You know that's a slogan of the Chinese, the Cultural Revolution in China, the communists in China. That was a slogan of theirs. Man, woman, boy, girl, we're all the same. So, and like I say, they just told you that all that shit is connected. So no voting, no touching, no voting, no loving. All right? So black men get shit together. Black women get y'all shit together. Because this shit is deeper than what y'all think, right? And y'all ain't gonna get this shit nowhere else. All the other shit they talking, I don't even know that all them other YouTubers and all them other podcasts and shit, all the back and forth. You hear all the shit they talk? You got men on black women over here and black men over there, but the women said in the black, and then suddenly everybody having this conversation. What's the one chick? Name some of them. Some of these podcasts, some of these women, Kendra B and this and that and this type of person. They not hitting y'all with this shit. This is a cruel hoax. They don't know it. But that's why That's why I'm here for. Cruel hoax, feminism in the New World Order, written by Henry McCall. I'm giving y'all some real shit, man, because niggas don't even know where the fuck all this shit started from or where it came from. And that's just it, man. So, I'm going to wrap this shit up, man. And I hope y'all be back for the next topic. I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe y'all should drop some suggestions in the comment section, and we going to make it happen. Come fuck with your boy, Teach 'em Chuck at YouTube. Go follow me on Instagram at Teach 'em Chuck. Let's get it. Peace.